I put plugging in the mic now.
All right. See, can you hear us now?
Test, test, 1, 2, test.
Right? I don't know. It's not showing up. Ask him. Mobile stereo.
That certainly explains it. That's pretty funny. Can you hear us now? Can you hear us now? Test 1, 2, 3. Test, 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 test.
All right, Tom. Can you hear us? I got the mic. And we asked just as we stopped talking.
Not at all. Oh, really? I got the mic on now. Well, it ranges from stream yes, hangout no. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And is that too far away?
Yeah, probably.
All right, we're gonna move.
Ask him if he heard a bunch of crap crackling.
Now I hear you both on YouTube.
Oh, okay.
Okay, can you?
All right.
David. Yeah, David just said that.
Cool. I think the snowball is working now.
All right.
Right? Yeah. It's kind of faint. Sorry, guys.
We'll try to we'll talk louder. Okay.
Turn it up to 11, and then you'll hear us.
That's right. All right, you ready?
All right.
Tom said really quiet. How about this?
Because they can. It's that mic that's quiet. These mics.
Oh,
like
so I just spiked out on the. Oh, I'm so sorry. All right.
All right.
Okay.
Let me see if I can move it closer.
Yeah. Why don't we put it on? Can we put it on like the coffee maker, maybe? Just take this stuff off the coffee maker.
Yeah.
There we go. Will that work? Kind of, sort of.
At least it'll be closer to you.
Why don't you put a tape on there? Put some tape on there. Okay, there we go.
Low rubber feet.
All right, that'll work. Is that better?
All right. Let's see. Welcome.
Both good.
Both
okay.
Good. All right.
Excellent. We're gonna get this. We're gonna get this thing going.
Eventually.
Yeah.
All right. Welcome. Are we ready to start the show?
I think we are, Tony.
All right. Welcome to the Sunday Morning Linux Review. This is Tony Bemis.
And Mary Tomich. And no Matt Enders. Matt is sick.
Yeah. This is episode 83. Where's Matt?
Yeah. Well, he's in the chat. That's where he is. But yeah, for those of you who aren't aware, Matt is sick today. So he's not with us. Although I have to tell you, Tony, I did get a text from him today. Yeah. And he seemed kind of giddy about a TV or something. So I'm thinking he could be playing hooky and just, because he definitely is in the chat. But no, I'm kidding. He's definitely not feeling good. So
right.
So Matt, get well soon. I'm enjoying your chair. I'm sitting in Matt's chair, which is actually does have its scary elements when you think about it. But I'm enjoying it. So now I know why you get here first in the morning.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I guess we'll just move on and figure out what we did last week that maybe was open source or Linux related.
Yeah. Well, I found my new favorite chips. It's not open source or Linux related.
Well, maybe the time and billing system is on Linux.
Maybe.
Yeah, that's right. We're featuring them here.
Yeah, we should see if they'll send us.
They're called Great Lakes Potato Chip Company.
Yeah,
and
they're made from Traverse City. And it tastes like real barbecue. That's right. It's very good.
That's right. So Tony's sharing them, and there will be none by the end of the show.
Probably
and Highlander, I do apologize because that was I who was munching on them before we went live. Too much bacon milkshakes, according to Tom. But anyway, so all right. So you got
those bacon ice cream things that Matt was having.
Oh my gosh!
A year ago?
Yes. Yeah. And then remember the stroke he had in November? Yeah.
Right.
You think there was a relationship between the two?
Maybe.
So anyway, what else? Anything else you did?
I upgraded my Ubuntu machine at work at 1304.
Okay.
And it actually runs much better. Unity was very slow. Like bringing up the dashboard and the lenses. Like I would hit the Unity button, and literally it would take 30 seconds before it would come up. Like I would wait and wait and wait.
How much RAM do you have in that thing?
A gig of RAM. So
but that's sort of minimum, though, isn't it?
I think so.
Yeah.
But now with the upgrade, it comes up with about 5 or 10 seconds
with
later.
Unity.
With Unity.
Really?
Yeah. So it's in general seems to be faster. But all you do is listen to podcasts and music stuff on there. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, see, and KD4KB says 1304 is crashy, buggy. I mean, Ubuntu 1304, not Kubuntu. Probably Ubuntu. But,
But yeah, so it seems to be running
so
faster.
It's
somewhat buggy. There was a couple things that crashed, although the 1210 was crashing like every day. Something was crashing on it, and this time it crashed once every like 2 days.
Oh well, seems like it must be twice as good or twice as
right. I think it's more of a hardware problem though. There's something strange going on. It's just
okay.
Anyway.
Well.
Ubuntu.
Well, the good news is that it's faster. So so it crashes faster, it runs faster, it's a whole bunch of faster.
Right.
So that's good.
What'd you do this week?
Well, let's see, a couple things maybe of interest, and actually one of them we'll chat a little bit about on the tool during our tips from the tool chest or whatever that little segment of the show, because I was playing around with that. There's a way to turn your HTML5 compliant browser into a kind of quick and dirty text editor. So we'll talk a little bit about that. So I was playing around with that, but then also at my company, we have some new products that are available, and they're desktop products for lawyers. And I was sitting in on an install, and it was kind of interesting because the person that the customer was using Windows 8, and oh my goodness, he did not like Windows 8, and it was really kind of funny because I had heard him say something that I've been in the shell all day, and I'm thinking in the shell because I'm thinking command line shell, right. But I believe in the Windows 8 world, the shell is really the Windows 7 interface. So it must just generate it in a shell environment, and there it is. And he said that he uses that all day, and he said he used the word terrible in as part of his discussion about his reaction to Windows 8. So I thought that was kind of. I chuckled at that. I mean, just to myself. I mean, I felt bad that he had to go through that because no one should have to go through that.
Right.
But anyway, so that was kind of an interesting thing. But just the normal, the normal stuff.
Yeah.
Normal stuff. So. All right. So, Matt, what did you do? Oh, wait, Matt's not here. Maybe we should have him. We should force him just to type in the chat what he did.
Yeah. Hey, what's he saying?
Or I'll just make up a story. Yep, he spent 4 hours prepping a server and then found out he forgot to put the OS on. No. Oh, I'm going to pay for this next week. I just can tell now.
Yeah, I'm sure.
So anyway, but anyway, so all right. So let's move on to the next. What we got next?
The kernel this week. There's a kernel update. Matt typed it out and put it in the show notes. But we haven't decided. Are we going to read it? I guess I could read through it.
Okay, because I don't have it up.
The main line is 3.9. There's no release candidate this week. And the stable updates on Tuesday, May 7th at 21:08 Pacific Daylight Time. Greg Kroll-Hartman released the kernel 3.0.77 with 50 files changed, 242 lines inserted, and 109 lines deleted. And then also on the 7th, there's another update a minute later at 21:09 Pacific Time. He released, the same guy, Craig. He released 3.4.
The same guy. Yeah, that guy.
That guy.
It was one of those, oh shoot, I forgot to put that in moment.
Oh, it's there. I just didn't want to say it. It seems repetitive if I say it over and over.
Oh, yeah. Greg Kroll-Hartman?
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe not.
Oh, that's fine.
And then, again, 30 seconds later.
Say Greg KH.
Greg KH released 3.8.12. with 129 files changed, 641 lines inserted, and 320 lines deleted. And the last update was at 2110 with Greg KH released 3.9.1 with 139 files changed, 690 lines inserted, and 341 lines deleted. And there's no kernel developer quote this week.
They were quiet. Mute.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, thanks, Tony.
Yeah,
So
thank you.
guess, oh yeah, you're welcome.
And then we go on to the distros for this week, right?
I believe that we do. What have we got?
This week we have starting off on
I think we left off
5.5.
Yep, we lost it. Yeah, the last one we did last week, I think, was Debian. You know, we went kind of went crazy with the Debian one. So,
but that same day, 5.5, we have Aptosid.
Aptosid.
Mm-hmm. 2013-01, and that's Stephen Leppers. I don't know how to say his name.
Stefan Lippers Holman.
Okay.
That's how I would probably pronounce it.
That sounds
I've been to Europe, so I guess.
Oh. But it's a modern desktop Linux distribution with a choice of KDE, XFCE, and the latest kernel with based on Debian Unstable.
Yeah, and actually, this release is called Hesperides, and you know, Aptosid is a Greek-based distro, and so it's no surprise that they would take their name from Greek mythology. So this is the educational portion of the show. Then Hesperides they're nymphs, apparently the daughters of Hesperus. So I wanted to share that with you. I'm sure that's probably more than you ever wanted to know. But what they said too, and I went out to the site and took a look around, they have no plans to support Microsoft Secure Boot. And they said in order to allow dual booting in UEFI mode with other operating systems, you'll have to disable Secure Boot in order in firmware to do it. So that's their plan. They're not going to support it. So I thought that was kind of interesting, and I wanted to mention that. All right, what do we got next?
Next is Olive. No, that's in development. Then Kwart is the next release on 5.6.
Quart. Remember that? I did that one. It was a Quart low.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Okay.
David Cartarello announced the release of Kwart Linux 4.
Cortarello. I think in it's a Spanish last name.
Okay.
Usually like 2 L's is a Y.
Yeah. Well, it's
I knew that college Spanish would come in handy.
It's a lightweight Crux-based distro, now with 64-bit, and has OpenBox as the desktop manager.
Yes, and you know, Quart originates from Argentina, and what a coincidence! The same week that this Argentinian distro was released, another fan of Argentina was elected to Congress from South Carolina. What a coincidence. All right.
All right. And then we have OS 4, 13.4 KDE, and Robert Donhert, yeah, released the KDE edition of OS 4, 13.4, a desktop Linux distro with KDE 4.10.2. Is based on Ubuntu's latest long-term support, which is 12.04 right now.
Yeah, you know what's kind of interesting is you contrast OS 4, and they have support for ButterFS, ext3, ext4, JFS, RiserFS, and XFS. Contrast that with Quart, and all they have, the only file systems they support are ext, I think, well, 3 and 4 for sure, and I think maybe 2. So, yeah, so it's kind of interesting to look at how you can kind of compare and contrast these distros and see the differences between them. But OS 4 definitely has a pretty good set of options for for file systems.
Very cool.
All right.
And then we have Crunchbang 11 was released this week. Philip Newberg released the release of Crunchbang Linux 11, a lightweight Debian-based distro with OpenBox as the default desktop interface, suitable for both new and older computers.
You know, not only that, they've positioned Crunchbang to respond to for desktops, laptops, and netbooks. So they're trying to kind of be a Swiss Army knife. I think one of the Swiss Army knife distros for a variety of conditions and hardware. So that's kind of good, I guess.
Yeah. OpenSUSE has released.
They do.
Yeah, on the 8th, May 8th, OpenSUSE 12.3 EduLife.
Yeah, it's Linux for education.
All right.
I think that's what the L of the life stands for.
I see. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. So, and as a matter of fact, I'm going to be talking a little bit more about them after we go through the rest of the distros. But one thing about or one issue that they had posted on their site is that the Cinnamon and GNOME boot menu entries don't work. KDE session has started instead. I had nothing to do with that, but they had posted that on their. I think you can get around it, but I think if you just go with selecting it right from the boot menu, you'll have a surprise.
Right. All right, and that was actually the last one for the releases. Everything else is
developmental.
Releases.
Yeah, we'll be probably talking about them in a couple weeks.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Well, I guess we're gonna take a look and see.
At the top 5 of the week.
Yep, of the week. That's right. According to just page hit ranking only.
Right. Yeah. For DistroWatch, not for their actual web pages.
That's right.
But in number 5 we have OpenSUSE with 1571.
And trending up.
And in number 4 we have Magia with 2111.
And trending down.
And number 3 we have Ubuntu with 2115.
And trending down.
Number 2 is Mint with 3378.
And trending up.
And in the number 1 spot is Debian.
Rock on Debian.
With 4454.
And trending up. I mean, they've had, they shot to the top because, they don't come out with a new release very often. So.
Right. Yeah, you got to check that out.
Yeah, there's some interesting things that are coming out as a result of them releasing, and I think when we get to the news, we'll talk a little bit about those.
Very cool. All
right, so let's see, what do we got now?
That's it for the distros for this week. The next, do you have a review, Mary?
Well, as I said, I kind of got burnt out on just installing and doing those kind of reviews, but I do have some information. I did take a look at what's going on with the most recent OpenSUSE, that EduLife.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I wanted to do is I wanted to talk a little bit about that because I thought it was kind of interesting. And anyway, so let's go ahead and do that. Well, first of all, when you're going to download it, it's over 3 gigabytes. So it's going to have a ton of stuff on it, as is typical for most of those educational distros. Because you remember, I think Uber Student, I talked about that.
Yeah.
Last fall, and I went on and on with the number of apps that were available on it. Well, I won't do that today, but it's basically the same type of thing. I am going to talk about a few of them though, because what I did is I went through the list, and although it's a partial list, it's pretty lengthy, and what I tried to do then is to take them and lump them into certain categories. For example, they have something called Brain Workshop. Now, this is a free open source version of something called the dual NBAC brain training exercise. And I went out to the site to take a look at this thing, and what kind of cracked me up was this question. I think it's probably a rhetorical question. It says, what if a simple mental exercise could improve your memory and intelligence? So, hey, who knows? Maybe there's something there for somebody. But anyway, so they include that, and then they've got a couple of other. They've got two different flashcard programs that are available. J Memorize and uh, Ignuit. It sounds very close to ignorant, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I wonder if there was a little play on words there. And then they've got a few. They've got a few chemistry programs. You know, periodic tables, molecule type programs. They then have got a couple of development environments. One is called Euler, and then they've got one called Little Wizard, and that's a development environment for children based on Pascal, which I'm sure is a really popular language. I mean, I suppose people use Pascal, but you know, I always hear like C++ and uh,
Yeah.
some of those others. But
Yeah, for a lot of, and then for the web development stuff is, you know, Perl and
Perl and Python.
PHP and Python, right?
Exactly. So yeah, so I saw that and I just that was but you know what I think what it probably does is it teaches development principles, and those you can take with you, you know, from development environment to development environment. They had a couple of typing tutorials for kids, you know, Tux Type and Clavaro. And then I'll tell you where the bulk of their programs are in the mathematics area. They had a ton of them. I'm not going to go through all of them, but you can imagine some algebra ones. They've got some geometry ones, including a simulator of Euclidean geometry. It's a KDE app. So then that got me thinking, I wonder if they had one for non-Euclidean geometry. Now you have to be a fan of H.P. Lovecraft to get that little joke, but anyway, but yeah, so I think they had almost a dozen there, including Tux Math too. So there's quite a bit, and then they had some electronics. They had a few electronic applications there too. K-Logic, K Simus, and then K Tech Lab, and not surprisingly, they're all KDE apps. Then they had a few, you know, some other science apps, including Stellarium, which of course is the astronomy app, which, you know, I think is really good to have. But what really kind of caught my eye, and I wasn't aware of this. Now, well, first of all, I'm aware of Moodle, and you've heard Matt talk about Moodle, and Moodle is really a course management system. It's a content management system for education, so you can manage registering for courses, tracking courses, tracking students, all that kind of stuff.
Communication. Things like that.
And that's included on this SUSE ISO.
Oh,
yeah, it is. I was
Very cool.
yeah. I'm not going to say exactly I was surprised, but I was pleasantly surprised to see it on there, we'll say. But they also have a couple of other ones, and I hadn't heard of these. They've got something called ATutor, and that's an open source web-based learning content management system that runs on a LAMP stack. But that's included in there. And then they had something else too called Free SMS, which I was not. I don't know if the SMS is. Remember the Superb Mini Server?
Oh yeah.
I don't know. I don't think it's related to that, but this is a web app for managing an education facility. So, you know, so it I didn't look into that one too much, but again, they had all of those available on this ISO, and then your standard Scribus, GIMP, all those kinds of things. So it was kind of interesting to look at. They also have let's see here, Git and Subversion. There's quite a bit. I was impressed with it. So if you're looking, if you've got kind of an educational background and you're looking for a distro that is focused in that particular genre, I really think OpenSUSE 12.3 EduLife is something to take a look at. So I wanted to talk a little bit about that, and hopefully, let's see here.
Are you reading the chat?
I couldn't when I was reading my stuff.
Right.
Slackware for Mary petition sign up start here. Oh my gosh, that is funny.
Yeah.
Oh, why are people just torturing me with Slackware?
I think it's because you keep on
saying I'm not going to do
you're not
it.
going to do it right.
Oh my God,
it's your resistance.
Yeah.
Resistance is futile.
Well, and I do want to say this. I'm going to go on the record and say this: that Slackware is a great distribution. It would have not been around this long if it weren't.
Right. Well, I think reviewing Slackware is like you reviewing Debian. I mean, what's the point?
Yeah, I mean, exactly. I'm gonna say, okay, I had a little problem here, but this part went well.
Mm-hmm.
It's very solid. Patrick Volkerding does a fantastic job of maintaining this thing through thick and thin. I know that there was a period of time where people were very concerned about his health, um, but yeah, it it just doesn't make sense. But I might just sneak up one day and just say, hey, guess what I'm reviewing? But my, the thing I like to do is I like to review off the wall distros only because a lot of them will never see the light of day. And if there's some kind of gimmick about it, remember barbecue Linux where you could kind of set up these
Yeah.
different, these different distros. What was some other ones? But after a while, when I say okay, it's based on Ubuntu, yeah, it's a typical Ubuntu install. I just got kind of burnt out doing that.
Right.
So, but you never can tell. I mean, I'll do a distro review, and as a matter of fact, we've talked. I think last week we talked about this. We're going to be doing that BSD show,
Yeah.
and I've already downloaded 3.5 gigabytes of PC BSD goodness, and and I'm not kidding you. I booted it up, and I was impressed just with the first screen I saw. So I'm not going to go any further than that right now. We'll talk about that when we do that show. But I think I'm gonna have fun in installing this and reviewing it. So
Yeah, that's cool.
yeah,
Yeah, it's gonna be fun. So
I
you're
think
doing
so.
PC.
Yeah,
I think I'll
PCBSD.
I think I'll do NetBSD.
Yeah, it's probably I took a look at their different pages and when we talked about how we wanted to approach it, I think it was Matt that suggested PCBSD,
Right.
and I can see why he did. I think it was a good decision on his part, and I'm glad I listened to him once. So, um, but anyway, so that's so that's at OpenSUSE, and
Tom wants just he wants you to do it just because it's outside of your comfort zone.
I've done so much outside of my comfort zone in my life. I jumped out of an airplane.
You did?
I did. hmm
Huh?
I did. What else? Well, the air traffic control stuff. When you first start doing
Yeah.
that, it's a little outside of the comfort zone. But yeah, maybe I will. Just never know. I'll just show up one show and just say, "Hey, I'm doing it."
All right.
So
Cool.
okay, let's see what do we got next.
We got
Should we
news?
pause for a Matt laugh? Right now, Matt might be laughing. Our show's going to be about 20% shorter because we don't have any of Matt's laughs in it. All right.
All right.
Okay, so I think we're moving on to what? The news?
Yeah. What's in the news this week?
Um, oh my God, I go first. I got to go open up my list of little topics that I have. Actually, I think I've got a few interesting things. Um, One thing I noticed, and apparently, and this is not specifically Linux related. I'm going to talk about this while I wait for this document to open. But buried in the immigration reform bill, apparently, and I want to say that John Miller, I think he may have posted this on Google Plus, was a proposal to create a national database of photographs of all adults in the United States.
Really?
hmm So somebody posed the question now. Some people oppose background checks for guns, but they seem to be okay with a national database of all pictures. I don't know. I thought it was kind of odd.
Right. No. Yeah. And
I get a little worried about that kind of stuff. Just
right. It probably is already out there, but it's just not made
yeah,
public.
it could be. All right. Well, I've got my news up, and again, Matt writes stories just so people for those folks who may not be aware of it. Matt writes out stories, and he does a great job of it. Now, I have not really written out stories, but I've got a series of short news items here that I think bear some telling. And the first one is from the We Never Saw This Coming department. Mm-hmm. Exploit for new IE8 zero-day vulnerability in the wild. Now, apparently, this became known, I think, either late last week or earlier this week as a result of I think it was some subsite of the Department of Labor. And what happened is that at first they thought it was kind of a rehash of an older vulnerability, be, but then they discovered that it wasn't. So what Microsoft did is they suggested that users of IE8 deploy what's called EMIT, and that stands for the Enhanced Mitigation Experience Toolkit. when I when I heard that, I just well, first of all, they helpfully give instructions for how to configure it to add its protective layer to IE8, and I thought, oh my God, that'll just make it even slower because I use IE8 at work, IE8, and it's just slow, it's awful. Anyway, they said also that you could upgrade to IE9. Well, I thought to myself, if what was not written in this article was my name for a tool that I would have had, and it was called also EMIT. It's the Enhanced Migration Experience Toolkit, and it would consist of links to Chrome, Firefox, Opera, Midori, Iceweasel, any number of things. So that was something I caught my eye. This is something, Tony, I don't know if you saw this, but Google's Cloud dumps custom Linux and switches to Debian. Did you hear about that? I was not aware of the fact that Google's compute engine uses Linux. It's based on Linux, and so they call it GCell. And it apparently it had been using Debian packages that are found in what they term a typical minimal Ubuntu distribution, and it's designed to integrate with the Google Compute Engine. Well, they apparently have decided to go ahead and move to Debian instead of maintaining that custom version.
Really?
Yeah, I thought that was kind of interesting. Of course, it came out right after Debian released, and what they said, and this is a comment from Google. They said, we feel that customers will get a great experience having a Linux distribution that is maintained by the Debian community. Debian and derivatives thereof, such as Mint and Ubuntu, are among the most popular on the internet, and Google itself is a heavy contributor to the Debian code base. We will also continue to offer CentOS and are actively exploring other operating system options based on feedback from our customers. So that was from a Google spokesman after, cool. and I saw this, I believe it was on the Register, the English IT, the British IT site.
Oh, yeah.
That's where I saw it. So I've got a link to that. That was kind of interesting. Another one too that came out, and I know that various podcasts are going to be talking about this, but this just came out that Ubuntu is going to get its own package format and app installer.
What?
Yeah, apparently it's gonna come out for apps and things for their phone. And I read that Canonical employees are going to start to get these phones, I think, by the end of May, if my memory serves me correctly. And if my memory doesn't serve me correctly, I better get one of those OpenSUSE tools in practice. Yeah, but I think I read that they're going to start getting those by the end of the month. So what Ubuntu's doing then is they're still going to continue to use the app system and that protocol, but what they said here, and I tell you, I wish I had the web page open. I don't even have the web page open on this, but they're going to have everything that is needed. It's going to be bundled into a package. So to me, it sounded quite a bit like the way Mac does it. And if you remember when we talked about Chakra Linux, see, I did that what Matt does. I knocked that thing on the bottom of the chair. Chakra Linux, they have those bundles because they're such a pure KDE environment that if you want to run a GTK app, they bundle it all together so right. You don't sully the KDE environment.
Sure.
And it just drops it in and it runs. And it sounds to me like that's the direction Ubuntu's going for some of their environments. And I wouldn't be surprised that if long-term wise, if that's what they do for their regular environment. So.
Oh yeah, I can see that coming up. Mm-hmm. And then they can run whatever library they want.
Yeah, it's all self-contained.
Because all the libraries are self-contained, right?
I mean, to me, and I think we've talked about this on previous shows where I think Matt's comment was that you could have the same library installed twice, or on your system twice for different apps. But as I said to him, it's not that much of a big deal now because there's so much space.
Yeah.
On our hard drives. So.
Yeah, and dealing with that, we should talk to George Castro. He's a local guy, but he also works for Conical. So we
should interview him.
Yeah. Maybe he knows something about it.
Great idea.
Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah, it's a great idea, Tony. Can you
It's
set that
actually
up?
I can't take that. I can't take that as an idea. That was Matt's idea. I know he'll call me out on it if I don't say anything.
Oh, okay. Well, he's not here. I'm sitting in Matt's chair.
Right.
Ew, no, just kidding. But anyway, so but yeah, I think that would be an interesting discussion.
Yeah.
You know, listening to what George has to say. So now the other, there was another story that I had, or at least a news link that I had, and this was Honeywords plan to snare password thieves. And because you know when hackers when they steal that information, they've got access to accounts, they've got access to all sorts of things. So what they're thinking of doing, and this is a these are cryptographic researchers, one of whom actually is the R in RSA, and that's Ronald Rivest. They're thinking of adding this password that if in addition to a password, it's kind of like
A hash.
yeah, it is, and it's separate. And if you don't, if it's not properly supplied, then whoever's trying to get in is not the real individual that belongs to that account, and so then they're outed and they can be caught and prosecuted or whatever.
Is that separate password? Is that something that you supply? So you have to supply two of them, or is that something the website supplies along with your account?
It would be the idea involves storing what they've dubbed honey words for each user in the password database along with their actual password. An attacker who gained access to the database would be unable to distinguish the honey words, which would also be stored in the form of salted hashes from the real password.
Oh.
So you see that's the tack they're taking on it.
Yeah, that's even bigger because with hashes or salted hashes,
Mm-hmm.
the salt is held on the server,
Mm-hmm.
and then it hashes every password, and then it comes up saying, "Is this your password?" You know, when it's applying to the application. Well, with that idea, what they're talking about is each individual user has its own salt,
Mm-hmm.
so that it makes it even harder because if the hackers they
You
have
got the wrong salt. Yeah.
right, and then it's not going to work.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's very cool.
Yeah, yeah, and so when I saw that, I thought it merited a mention.
Yeah.
So, and I'm glad you provided that explanation. I thought that was pretty interesting there. I mean,
Very
I
cool.
understood in a general sense the concept, but I appreciated you sharing that. All right, let's see what else we got here. Huh? Is Matt saying
actually
something?
has a story on here he put on. He wants us to read. Last time I read one of his stories, I screwed it all up. So I don't know if you want to read it, Mary, or
Where is it?
it's on our site. It's on the show notes for this.
Oh yeah, I'll definitely go ahead and do that. It's not published yet though, right?
You hit preview. If you go.
Yeah, I haven't even logged into it yet. So,
Oh, okay.
but one thing I wanted to mention, one thing I want to mention though is that I believe it's the International Space Station. I don't know if you saw this news this week that they are switching from Windows XP to Linux for improved reliability.
Ooh.
Yes.
I did not see that.
Yeah, this story, I came across this story from the Extreme Tech website. And, obviously, Microsoft, I think, is sunsetting XP. Isn't it next year they're sunsetting it?
Yeah, April.
Right, 2014. So, obviously, the International Space Station has been running XP for however many years. And so they're looking for something different, and they are switching to Linux. They want this, and the article is it had a little, well, it wasn't humorous at the time, I suppose, but apparently, some Russian astronaut, when he took his laptop up there, he brought a virus with him, and it infected. And I can remember the story from a few years ago, but it infected a few of the systems up there. So they're thinking now, running Linux, it's not going to have that kind of vulnerability.
Yeah.
Just because it's Linux. So, but yeah, I thought that was pretty cool.
That is very cool. Did you hear the other non-tech story with the Space Center or the
talking about the leak?
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
the
tell us
coolant
about
leak.
it. Tell us about it while I log in to try to get Matt's story. I'm stalling.
There's a coolant leak. They use, is it ammonia, I think, for as coolant, and there's a slight leak. They said they looked out the window, and there was like a steady stream of flakes.
Yeah, it looked like it was snowing in space.
Yeah, so they had to go over or switch over to a backup power system or something until they get it fixed.
Yeah, and I think somebody was spacewalking.
Yeah, I heard. The last I
6 hours out there.
was it.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Okay, I'm in. I'm into the preview area, not to the preview area. Episode 81. You have episode 81 in there twice.
Oh, I typed it wrong.
All right, I'll fix it.
Okay.
All right, there we go.
And then hit preview over here.
Okay. All right. And I'm going to read this story here. All right. All right, this is from Mr. Matt Enders, read by Mary Tomich. C groups, why are they important? Or why they are important? Red Hat is a huge proponent of System D and plans to release the next Red Hat, or RHEL, I guess, and RHEL 7 with System D. Almost all of the development on System D is done by one man, Leonard Pottering. He is a Red Hat employee. He is a longtime Linux hacker, making some very complex projects like Pulse Audio, and now I know why I hate him. No, I'm kidding. That was my own editorial comment. Matt didn't write that. Red Hat has. Matt's gonna have to clean this up. Red Hat has been doing an excellent job documenting. I think he's setting me up to read this with all these typos in here. Documenting C groups, and there's a link to this information here that will be in the show notes. Now here's an explanation of the difference between the init system and System D. So buckle your seatbelts, everybody, because here we go. The problem for more than 30 years, yes, more than 30 years, because traditional Unix also uses the init style startup scripts. Ubuntu's Upstart program is similar to the old init style, so they will not see this benefit. Init starts okay, first of all, step one, init starts a process. 2, the subsequent process starts the child process. 3, for some reason, the parent process is restarted. 4, the child process, however, stays running. 5, the restart of the parent process fails. I'm reading this verbatim. Is this a draft, Matt? 6, it will continue to fail until either the child process is tracked down manually or the system is rebooted. Now here is System D with C groups. And that's spelled CGRUPS or OUPS. It varies. But anyway.
It should be OUPS.
OUPS. Okay, yep, it is. All right, 1, init starts a process wrapped in a C group. 2, the subsequent process starts the child process. 3, for some reason the parent process is restarted. Now you'd think I'm reading a different list, but it sounds like it's the same. I think it's going to change here shortly. 4, the child process, however, stays running. 5, the init process checks to see if there is any process that is a member of that C group that is running that should have been terminated, then terminates them. 6, the original parent process restarts cleanly. And that is why System D and C groups are so important.
That makes sense.
I'm glad it made sense to somebody, because when I was reading it, I was focusing on trying to read it, so right. I couldn't really
so what it's saying
synthesize the information.
Right. The old init style is where if there's a child process and it's running and the parent process is killed for some reason and tries to restart, well, that child process is still running and it causes problems and it won't let the parent process restart.
Those unruly children.
And it's not tracked, right.
Okay.
The old init, it's not tracked. So the new system with C groups tracks all those parent and child processes.
Okay.
So it can kill off the child process and then restart the parent process.
Oh, all right. Well, it does sound cleaner. I'm going to take your word for it, Tony.
Right.
No, I mean, I know that it goes through a series of steps and all of that, but that certainly is good news. Now, I don't know if you saw this. I did, and I wanted to make mention of it. Uh, there was a poll recently, as recently as last week, as to which Linux distribution would you save. Did you see that poll?
I did not.
Well, I did, and
is there a link to that?
Yeah, there is. Let me go ahead and I'll post this in the chat if I can here. Let me just get this in the chat.
Is this probably spawned from all those distros that are dying off and new ones starting up?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what they did, and naturally, this is not a scientific poll because you could choose as many as you wanted to, this type of thing. But what was interesting, what I thought was pretty interesting and not very surprising to me, is that Debian was at the top of the list.
Yeah.
Ubuntu is second on the list. Mint is third. Arch is fourth, and Fedora is fifth. And then of course OpenSUSE is just right behind it.
Yeah.
And then Red Hat, Slackware, Gentoo, Puppy. Anyway, what was not surprising to me is that Mageia was way down below PC Linux OS. You know, because well, of course, Matt's a little more vocal about it than I think you and I are. But,
right.
Because when we read those 7-day distros, that list, Mageia is always up there, and we think it's gamed. But anyway, so I thought it was kind of interesting. I mean, what Linux distribution would I save? Well, I think Debian definitely would be the one that I would save, and Kubuntu. I was disappointed Kubuntu is not on this list. At least I couldn't find it.
All the Ubuntus.
Well, that's kind of what I thought.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's just a different desktop, but that same Ubuntu goodness.
I would, if I had to choose one, I would say Debian, but if I could choose a second, I would say Mint.
Mint, yeah. I think Mint is.
But by saying Mint, then I'm also saving Ubuntu and Debian.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe I should just say Mint.
Probably, yeah, yeah. That makes sense. So, and then I've got a KDE corner too. I've got a few things. KDE this past week they shipped updates to their Plasma workspaces, applications, and development platform. That's KDE 410.3. So I've got a link to that. And also Calligra 2.7, they have released a beta, and they're expecting to release the final version in about a month. And they've got updates to practically every component of that software suite. And what I noticed is that in Kexi is the database portion of it, and of course I like databases, so I always pay attention to that. They have got a new feature now that will allow you to import CSV data into an existing table, so you can append data to a table, which I think is pretty good. So I wanted to share that. And another thing that I have included, if I can pull this up, is a blog, and this is Jonathan Riddell's blog. He's one of the Kubuntu. He's one of the maintainers and developers on the Kubuntu project. And what caught my eye about this this blog posting was a series of steps that they went through. He had gotten a Sony laptop, and it has the UEFI secure boot on it. And what he tried to do, it contained a boot and a Microsoft EFI bootloader. So what he tried to do is he tried to put Kubuntu on it, and he ran into some problems, and it ended up being submitted as a bug to the Kubuntu project. So I've got the link to the bug. But he said that the laptop had many partitions. There were a total of 7 of them there. The first one was a FAT32 that had the boot, the boot partition and the Microsoft bootloader. And then SDA2 was the recovery partition. SDA3 had it was FAT32, contained a boot, a Microsoft, a Kubuntu, and an Ubuntu UEFI EFI bootloader. and then it was and he just kind of went down the line with all this stuff, and they installed Kubuntu, but it wouldn't set up grub, and they couldn't do much. They couldn't do much at the command line, the grub command line. So anyway, I thought it was kind of an interesting read, so I'm going to include that in the show notes. And as I said, they did submit a bug report for it, and I guess we'll see what comes of it. But it caused me to kind of think. Now, this laptop I have is it'll be 3 years old next March, and I usually go 3 years and I get a new laptop.
Yeah.
And I used to buy Dell, and when Dell had Ubuntu and it came pre-installed, I bought the XPS. I really liked it, and then Ubuntu got lost on Dell, or Linux got lost there, and I went to Zarizen.
Yeah.
And I really like this. And now it's going to be 3 years old, and I'm thinking next year I might, get something else. But I'm going to go to a Linux vendor just like I did this last time. And probably the same vendor, but I just don't want to contend with.
Yeah, everything I've heard about Zarizen is it's very good stuff.
But just the idea of the problems that you can encounter trying to put a different operating system on a laptop. Just any laptop.
Right.
So anyway, but that's what I had for my KDE corner. So you got any news?
Come
on, you made me do all that talking.
I know. I saw something and then now I don't see it anymore. What is going on here?
Well, I know what we can talk about. We got a couple of tools.
Yeah, let's go into the tool tips.
Okay, I'm gonna let you talk about it. You feel comfortable talking about the first one, that one that because I think you took it. Yeah, the file one.
File server one. You brought this up, but.
And I'm gonna tell my little story about it. But I think the reason why I was suggesting that maybe you talk about it is because I think you went in and dug a little deeper and found some extra aspects to it that initially caused Matt to poo-poo it.
Right, yeah, initially he didn't like it at all, and he said, no, let's not even do it. Well, I did a little research into it, because Mary, you generally don't say or suggest bad things, so
yeah,
I wanted to try to. But I just posted it in the IRC, and it's a utility for tracking down wasted disk space.
Yeah, and I call it Ajid. I think is it Ajidu?
I don't know how to say it.
That's how I would say it. Ajidu.
Yeah. AGEDU.
Yeah.
And basically what it does is it does a scan, and then you tell it to display, and it displays your files and folders by disk size, or how much files or space it's taking up on your disk. And then you can go through and say, oh, I didn't know this folder was taking that much space. You can investigate and see why. Like if your backup is taking up 200 gigs when it should only be taking up 50 gigs.
Yeah. Using that example, because that's what happened to me when I was testing this tool out. What I discovered is that there was a folder that had 30 or 40 gigabytes of stuff in it. And it was called migration. And what had happened is that I don't know if it was late last year, I was playing around with some backup programs and stuff, and I was just kind of checking them out. And I had set something up and had forgotten about it. So it had gone ahead and was backing up onto the same. This was really useful. Again, because I was just testing it, so I wasn't, I was just kind of playing around. But it was backing up onto the same partition, part of my home drive, my home directory. And but I didn't realize it until I ran this tool, and I'm thinking, why is all this space being consumed by this folder? And I went in and looked a little bit, and oh yeah, I remember now. So I got rid of it. But yeah, so but yeah, I thought it was kind of cool, and it does a pretty quick job in going through the area of your partition that your system that you've identified. And I only took it to the folder level. I think you took it a little bit further, didn't you?
Yeah, I took it to the file level. And let's start over a little bit. Matt says that it's pronounced AGEDU.
Okay.
AGEDU.
Okay.
AGD. And when I looked at the website, I read through the description, and it's just the apt-get to install.
Yep.
So it's very easy right in the repositories.
And you can, I believe Fedora, there's an RPM for Fedora.
Okay, yeah. And so and the first time I ran it, I just followed their instructions. It's you tell it HD, then -S, and then the file you want it to, or the folder you want it to scan.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want it to scan your home folder, then you do tilde/, and it does your current home folder. And then you do the HD space W or -W, and
Mm-hmm.
that is to display it as a
Okay.
web server.
Okay. Yep.
And then it gives you the link, and it comes up with a random port each time.
Yep. I
So
saw
it's
that
very cool.
too.
It gives you
Yeah.
a web interface to be able to view it. Well, if you do that last command with the -W and then space dash files,
Mm-hmm.
then it'll go through and display. You can click on the folders
Yep.
and dig down in and see what files are taking up so much space. And that's what Matt's original problem was, that it didn't show him individual files, what the port was taking
Mm-hmm.
up that space. So I was able to find that. The way I found that is I looked at the man page. I did man HD,
Mm-hmm.
and
Oh, imagine that.
the most right. But the most interesting thing I saw was that this article that that Mary supplied, but I put it in the IRC chat, is a verbatim copy from the man page.
Really?
Yeah, well, the part where it says how to install it,
Oh,
it was
okay.
left out.
Sure.
But the description from the very beginning all the way down, and then the examples of how to run it, it's verbatim a copy from the man page.
Really?
Yeah. So I thought that was interesting.
Yeah. So whoever developed it, obviously, must have done a did a good job in describing it in the man page, and
yeah, well documented.
Yeah, that's so important. So
Yeah.
important. But yeah, I liked it, and what I think we ought to do is we've come across some good tools, and I think it would be probably helpful to maybe have a spot on our on our site where we kind of have them all concentrated in one area, because when you think about it now, you have to go through, although there's a script, but that can pull stuff out. But I think it might be good for us to maybe have them in one spot so that people can find them. And we have another one this week, kind of I'm going to say it's kind of a tool. What it is, and I found this, where did I find this? I think it might have been on Linux Today. It's kind of a news aggregator, and it pointed me to, I know I saw it on Lifehacker, and I saw it in a couple of other places, but what this little snippet of code does is it will take an HTML5 compliant browser, which I think most of us are using, unless you're using Internet Explorer 8. Right. I tried this at work on my crappy browser there, and it wouldn't work. Oh. However, I also have Chrome and Firefox installed, and I dropped it in both of them, and not a problem. But anyway, I'm going to drop this in, and hopefully it'll just be translated verbatim, and it won't. I won't lose, because there's like a little tag in there. We'll see what happens. But anyway, if you paste that snippet of code into the address location window in a browser, and then just hit enter, what it's going to do, you'll see the cursor blink. You just click into the blank browser page, and just start typing. Yeah. Now, what's really nice about that is you can also, once you click it, you can also bookmark it. And so if you've got your browser open, you can just say, if you've got your bookmarks available in a toolbar, you can just click it, and immediately you've got a space that you can start typing in. And you can save that text as a web page if you want to. So if you go up to the menu and just say Save Page As, you can save it, and it'll save it as an HTML page. And what's really nice about it is you can reopen it later, and it will be editable again. So
that's very cool.
Yeah, so I really liked it, and I maintain a little blog at work for our group, and so I threw that in there, and somebody tried it and really liked it, and so I wanted to share that with everybody. So
yeah, it is very cool. Yeah. And, I can see other things where if I'm remoting into somebody's computer, and and for some reason I want to give them some text or something, then I can type it out there, and then they can read it, and they can type back to me easily.
Yeah.
And you could, without launching a different program. That's cool.
Yeah. because yeah, I mean, it's that's one way to do it. And if you're doing Windows, I mean, what we've done in the past is you just open up that run command and type Notepad in there and then start typing there. But this way, it's a nice way to do it. So
Yeah.
so is Matt giving advice in the chat window? Brian
What does he say?
suggested we switch to teletype and Morse code. I guess we could ignore him, can't
Is
we?
that maybe he's trying to
For
skip
today.
ahead to the listener feedback section?
Oh yeah, that might be it. Yeah, that's listener feedback. But I think no, I seriously though, I think that's probably a good idea. I was thinking about there's a kind of a way maybe to fade into something and fade out of it.
Okay.
Because
Yeah. Oh, was it
it's kind of just
abrupt?
100% this and 100% that, but that's all right. All right, well we'll move on. I think so. We've got our tools out of the way. We're not doing Is It Alive because Tony would win,
I would win. I
and
think we
he's a
should do it.
gentleman. Should we do it still?
Wait, what's Matt Dander?
It's a twist. It's a twist week, so I want to save my twist.
All right.
So
All right.
we'll
Sounds
twist it. Yeah, we'll do it for next time.
good. Yeah.
And hopefully Matt's feeling better. All right. Well, I guess we're to that part where we talk about.
The listener feedback.
There you go. We got some. I know we got some from when I think Matt and I were talking about Akanadai, is the way I'm pronouncing it. Until I'm told differently.
Right.
And I actually this week I did send Matt the link to the article that I had used, and then what I had discovered is that it was really from a Kubuntu perspective, although he certainly could have followed the steps and I think taken care of it. But we did have one of our listeners write in with a couple of let's see here, where is it? Just trying to open this up here. Yeah, so he had a series of steps. Actually, and more than that, he had some other things that he doesn't use and suggested that you could also get rid of these, like Blue Devil, Free Space Notifier, the Nepomuk search module. He doesn't use it. There's some other things that he doesn't use that he thought,
Yeah.
You could get rid of. So anyway, but that's more for Matt. Maybe Matt will talk about it next week. He can report on whether he was able to get rid of it. And let's see, what else did we get?
We got a couple feedbacks about Matt's comments about BSD, about being Unix and his history.
Yes.
So the first person reply to us was Scott Dowdle, and he says that he had a few things wrong. But honestly, I didn't.
He meaning who, Scott or Matt?
That Matt had a few things wrong. But I didn't read through the whole email because I was expecting Matt to explain it.
Yeah, but essentially, for those of you who listened to last week's show, we were talking about BSD and the history of it, and it was Matt's assertion that BSD was Unix, and Tony and I were of the belief that it wasn't exactly Unix, and I think, I think when Matt comes back next week, he can talk about it, but we appreciated Scott's very in-depth response and the additional information he supplied, and then Matt supplied it back to him. And so because Matt's not being here was a last minute thing, we just aren't prepared to go into the detail. So Matt maybe can do that next week. But again, thanks to Scott for talking about that. And actually though, but then we got something from Kevin O'Brien. And Kevin said he had several things for us. First, he said, Matt is absolutely correct. The BSD is real Unix. Ken Thompson, one of the two authors, along with Dennis Ritchie, who, by the way, didn't he pass away last year, I think? Yes. Dennis Ritchie, of Unix, was a graduate of UC Berkeley. And as a result, the folks at Berkeley were among the very first to be exposed to it. So in '76, they invited Ken to be a visiting professor, and he used Unix in his teaching. So Kevin says that he heard that he arranged for Berkeley to get a pretty generous license because AT&T didn't know what they had at the time at that point. So you could say that BSD is a fork of AT&T Unix, but no more than that. So And then Kevin also said he liked the music last week. I did
Yeah.
too. I thought that was pretty good.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Dead
Yep.
Man. That's cool.
Yep. So
We got feedback from Ben Rasmussen. He is the guy from Potomac Chocolate. He said that he's Brad Alexander's friend. Remember we talked about his Kickstarter?
oh yes, yep, we did.
And
we always talk about chocolate.
Thanks, and he appreciated us spreading the word. And yeah, it said he made it, didn't he? Or was well past. I'm pretty sure it was.
I think that didn't he? Yeah, I think he. I believe that he did. I'd have to go back and look.
Yeah, I'm gonna go check right now.
Okay. Well, while you do that, I'm gonna read. There was a comment on our episode 61. Did you see that?
Yeah.
It said, "What's up? After reading this awesome paragraph, I am also cheerful to share my know-how here with Mates." Well, I saw Mates and I thought, oh, it must be Mates, the desktop. But
No.
oh, I'm kidding. I had to include that. It was another spam, but anyway.
Right.
Right, you got it for
Potomac,
us?
yeah, he totaled, or his goal was 10,000, and he had a total of 12,600.
Oh, that's
he made it
fantastic.
well past, yeah.
Well, good for him.
Yes, good
I'm waiting
him.
for a chocolate bar.
Yeah, send us one.
All right.
We can all split it on the show. Talk about them some more.
That's right. I'm cutting myself off now. No more beer. I think we've got. I think that's it as far as feedback goes.
Did
right?
you say that dude emailed in for Matt also? He actually posted a comment on the website.
Yep, I think you're right.
That dude, it was similar to how to get rid of Akonadi, and he talks about going into the config files and changing it from true to false.
Oh yes.
So maybe that just turns it off.
And maybe it didn't do the brute force thing that I did, which was pull out a folder and do some other things.
Right.
But I have not had a problem at all with my laptop after doing that. And I did that before I upgraded to 13.04, Ubuntu 13.04, and my upgrade went just fine, and I had no problem. So
cool.
Yeah.
And then we had one email from a Dutch user, and I put it in Google Translate, and it's
spam?
one of those. Yeah, it's spams. Like, oh, found this great website. I like that article, and yeah.
He was talking about my stories, I'm sure.
I'm sure.
All right,
but I think that was it. Matt says, oh yes, he did achieve his goal.
okay.
Trying to read through the chat as we're doing this.
All right.
Cool. Well, I think we're coming to the end of the show.
I think we are. Hey, what music you got this week, Tony?
Music?
What music? Is it going to be surprise music?
It is going to be surprise.
All right. Well, Matt's not here, so we're going with some kind of Balkan carnival music, okay? With a cowbell.
Accordion carnival? How about that?
Balkan? Yeah, we could do that. Accordion carnival. Do you have something?
I'm waiting for the search to go.
Oh, okay.
We'll do. I think I spelled accordion wrong.
ACCORDIAN.
Oh, that's how I spelled it.
Yeah, that's how I would spell it. All right. So while you do that, while you wrestle with the internets.
Yeah. Where is it going?
You keep pressing the enter button. I'm sure that's going to really, it's like the elevator. You ever seen anybody in front of an elevator and they press it like 5 times? Like it's going to really make it go faster.
Right.
All right. Well, anyway.
So, I don't know, it'll be something along those lines.
Okay, well that sounds good. At least we won't be singing it to preview it.
Right.
So. Okay, well, I guess that's it.
I think it died. All right.
What, your computer?
No, the website.
Oh, Jamendo?
Yeah, it's not coming back anything. It's just sitting there circling.
Okay.
Sorry, guys. All right, so I guess that's the end of the show.
That's the end of the show. Kicking back, drinking the rest of our beer.
Yeah. So you've been listening to the Sunday Morning Linux Review. This is Tony Bemis.
Oh, and Mary Tomich. I left a space for Matt.
Right. This is episode 83. Where's Matt?
Yeah, where's Matt? I have his chair. I've been sitting in it. I've been sitting in this space, and I'm loving it. I'm getting here. I'm getting here at 5:30 next week, Tony. So just let me in.
Yeah, right. Then you can sit there.
That's right. First come, first serve. Matt can sit in the wooden chair with no cushion. So, all right.
So have a good week.
See you next week. All right.
All right.
There we go. Ooh, we got through that.
Jake Elsh says, good show. And thank you. Highlander has a YouTube link he wants to share with us. Thought it was appropriate for the show. Open in browser.
Okay.
See, this comes up, but Jamando is still searching. Still hasn't come up.
Really?
The Penguin Dance video mix.
Oh, maybe that's what we should do. Let's just see what it is here. All right.
Maybe my wireless dropped again.
That could be. I've got one bar on it, so it can't be. All right. Or as we do in Detroit. Yeah, I'm liking it. Hey, good one, Highlander. Can we use it? Should I shut it off now?
I don't know. Sure.
All right.
It's a remix of a song. Is that? I don't know. And it's Russian.
They'll never find us.
Right.
We're in your basement. They'll never find us.
All right.
I guess we already signed off.
Yeah.
Are we done?
Right. Say bye, everybody.
Okay. Bye, everyone. Thank you so much. This was a last-minute two-person thing. Get better, Matt. See you next week.